Good morning, and welcome to the final trial of our NRG Autumn series. I'm going to be joined today by a series of guests, and we're going to be bringing you Standard for the bulk of the day. We've got 6 rounds of Standard that we're expecting alongside the top 8. And I'm going to be joined in the morning section by Carolyn Kavanagh. She's back joining us again. Caroline, why don't we go ahead and bring her in? You're going to have to carry some weight today because you're the only guest today who's actually been here before.
Oh, perfect. I thought you were going to say something else, but this works too.
I don't know what that would have been. I'm not going to slander my guests. We can talk about Thanksgiving. We can talk about Standard, whatever your pleasure.
Oh, well, I'm here for Standard. I've
All
been
right.
playing a lot of Standard, so I have some understanding of what's going on.
Good. Yeah, you have big incentive, like we talked about the last time you were here, to practice Standard this time around.
Yeah. Well, Standard and Historic, so it's actually been kind of tricky to go through both formats at the same time. But
maybe we can talk some about your preparation and kind of how that's moving along without you having to give anything away. Maybe later, during one of the breaks. But for now, yeah, we're playing Standard today. The metagame maybe there's some new contenders, but it's more or less stabilized, and I would say it's not the most wide metagame we've ever seen, which is okay.
Okay.
You disagree? Go ahead.
I think so.
All right.
Generally coming into a couple weekends ago after the MPL rivals split, there was kind of 2 main decks. There was Gruul and Rogues, and then Esper kind of appeared to handle the situation. And then after that, a newer deck, it had existed before and will exist after, but a newer deck started to do well, which was the mono green food deck. In particular, it kind of reacted pretty well against Gruul. Like it has a good fight there. It had a good fight against Rogues at the time. And it just started to do well. It's also really fun to play, and it's the deck I was playing a bunch, and I liked it. And then a reaction to that deck was the Temur ramp deck, which just picture the Omnath deck, but take out Omnath and all the white lands. And that's what it is. It's this Terror of the Peak ultimatum combo deck.
So I played.
You're kind of at 4 decks now. I'm just saying 4. That's
okay. So I played the food deck somewhat. I think after it had first been written up and talked about. I ran it around with it a little bit online, and I certainly agree with your findings. I felt good against the Gruul decks, and I felt like anything that's ramping, whether they're playing Ugin or Terror of the Peaks, I felt like I was really in trouble.
Oh yeah, such an underdog, unfortunately.
Yeah. That was rough, but we should have a good mix of decks today. And there's some other contenders. There's some control decks. We maybe will see an Esper, like you were talking about, the Esper permanent deck. We might see blue-black control. That's did well online recently, although maybe really hasn't gained a foothold in the metagame yet. So yeah, there is definitely a mixture of decks that we could see today. Maybe we'll see a mono red deck. But okay, so you referenced food. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the deck that you would have played if you were playing in this event. If that's food or not. Let's take a look.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Sorry. So this is I think their name is Rumty. They're pretty famous on Twitter and such for playing mono green. And when I'm looking for a green food deck, I usually head to someone that's when I'm looking for a deck, I usually try and find someone that is pretty passionate about that deck, and this feels like a good fit for the mono green list because I didn't really have time to tune it, so this is kind of where I would fall. I do like that this doesn't have Witch's Oven. I thought Witch's Oven was my least favorite card in the mono green food deck. I didn't want to trade my creatures into food sometimes. Like it just it didn't feel like a good profitable trade all the time. So I'm pretty happy where this list, and I actually did play this on the ladder a couple times yesterday, and I don't know if you know this, but Primal Might is actually one of my current all-time favorite cards.
Okay.
I don't really know why. Like it's just a normal fight card, but it's just secretly a fireball, and I think that it just does it for me. I don't know. It's just right now it's where it's at for me. So when I see a list with 4 Primal Mights, I'm in. Sign me up.
I mean, 4 is a lot, but I agree with you. It is maybe even more than secretly a fireball or a Howl from Beyond if you're really old. But yeah, it's cool. It's sort of a removal spell that if you're playing against a control deck with no creatures, it's not worthless. And I think that elevates the card significantly. Okay, so we have our deck list for our first round players. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what we're going to see. We're going to be okay. So we're going to be watching Shane Downey playing blue-black control, I know a little bit about Shane Downey, more so than probably most players do. He's actually my best friend. He's played in 3 Pro Tours, I believe. The last one being a couple years ago. He grinded in the Last Chance Trial. So we're looking at, okay, Blue Black Control, like I was saying, which is a deck that I feel like is growing in presence, at least from what I've seen, but maybe not one of the mainstays of the format yet.
Yeah, I think it's pretty tricky because the majority of the format is people refer to rogues as this, area. The blue-black deck is called rogues. And rogues actually has really evolved between like 2 or 3 different decks. One being the really aggressive, lots of rogues, lots of Lurrus, one of Lurrus, but really trying to do you the mill plan. And then there's like the evolution where they went a little bigger. They had Zaratsan, they had more control. And then this, which came out kind of this week, which was just ditched everything and was like, no rogues, let's just play all the control cards and see what happens. And that's kind of what we've ended up here.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and look at what Shane's going to be playing against. Adam Wasburn-Moses, a regular on the NRG series, and we're looking at red-green, I guess we could call it adventures or Gruul adventures. Let's see, do we see any departures from what you would expect in this deck list? Okay.
Like a lot. Okay, so this list is the first things you should see are the Embereth Shieldbreaker in the main decks and the Thrashing Brontodon in the main. This to me says Adam does not want to lose the mirror ever. Okay? And the other cards that you can tell that that's sort of what's happening is the Questing Beasts, the number is 1, which is quite low. And then Embercleaves are also only at 2. So this is basically, as the meta shifted, people changed their decks to beat their other things, right? So originally this deck list had 4x of the Questing Beast, 4x of Embercleave, and etc. But you can see sideboard cards started to make it into the main deck, which does tell you we're quite late in the format. It does mean that people have played against each other a lot. We kind of know what's going on. This person has played the Ox in the main deck too. I didn't even see that at first. Like this person is like, yo, I'm ready for everything. Here's my sideboard in my main deck. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot of options when building these decks now, and that was evident in the MPL League weekend a few weeks ago. There were, I would say, I was counting in the different varieties of the deck, the Embercleaves plus the Great Henges, because those are both kind of the more expensive take over the game cards. And this is a little light, I would say, with 4 total. I think 5 or 6 was more common between the 2 cards. So we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, like you were saying, an Ox and a Brontodon are big cards that you don't always see in the main deck.
This is going to be unfortunate for this matchup because honestly, it's this matchup you want those heavy hitters. You don't want the Embereth Shieldbreakers or the Brontodons. I don't imagine they'll be extremely helpful, though. As I say that, we do see Shane's opening hand. It does have Shark Typhoons, so.
So for those that don't know me particularly well, I'm generally, if I'm observing a match, whether it's just online or in an event, I'm frequently not rooting for my friends. That's not going to be any different here. We don't want to be, impartial or unbiased or anything. So we'll see what Adam Wasburn-Moses is able to bring here, as Shane's hand is okay. A little land light, but having the land on top on the Scryland, that helps out. 1 removal spell that's probably a little light as far as what we'd be hoping for, and the negate it's either going to be great or worthless.
Brazen Borrower is like a removal spell, basically.
Yeah. It's good against. It's not as great against the Planeswalker, but it is fine against the Embercleave and the Great Henge, sort of. So that might work out okay. Another expensive card is certainly not what he's looking for here on turn 3, though.
The Lockmere Serpent is actually quite good against Gruul, but yes, it is in a tough spot to be when you only have 3 lands. This Ashiok, the thing is, the blue-black deck has some really good kind of powerful spells against Gruul. Like, the Ashiok and Lockmere are both insane, but whether or not they can get them into play in time is usually the question. Though at this point, it's less of the question. Like, there wasn't a lot of action from Adam, but
yeah, I like Ashiok quite a bit, and it's a card yeah, well, so the negate was played last turn, which I think was a fine decision to counter the Bone Crusher since it's going to come back, or counter the Stomp. But it did mean that the Shark Typhoon couldn't be cycled, and so now the land drop being missed has to be cycled now. And we have the potential to be one card deeper in the deck, but facing more damage. The trade-off is...
it wouldn't be facing more damage, right? Because on the turn we played Questing Beast, we would have been able to only play Questing Beast or Bone Crusher Giant. I guess we would have 2 life lower, but right. There wouldn't be more board state. So. Yeah. Okay. And we would have had a blocker, but the blocker wouldn't have blocked Questing Beast.
Ooh.
Okay, well, Adam kind of took the time to put out a bunch of creatures, but now we've put out a bunch. They are a nice diverse amount. There's a lot of even, though, so I guess there's only really...
There is a lot of even. This Extinction event is going to clean house. It'll leave the edge wall, but Shieldbreaker costs 2, I think, on the creature half, so this is going to be... This is going to catch up. Which was pretty... Oh, I mean, without drawing that land, Shane was dead, and now he's certainly in the game. Yes. Although he still needs more land.
But Adam is going to get a card out of this Lovestruck Beast, so that's a start.
Yeah, Adam's certainly not out of gas by any means.
Yeah, the issue is Shane isn't either, because Shane has infinite gas in his hand, but it's whether or not he can draw that 5th land. Okay. To kind of get the party started.
So let's see. There's a few options here. We could cycle Shark Typhoon. We could play Maze Mind Tome and then bounce the Edge Wall Keeper at the beginning of combat. That would. We could also. I guess we could Thassa's Intervention and draw 2 and hope to hit our land. So there's definitely some options here.
I think the last option you said leaves us dead to Embercleave.
Mm-hmm.
So that one's not probably on the table. I imagine a block, like a shark block, also leaves us pretty dead to Embercleave. So it sounds like I think somewhere around the Tome and the Brazen Borrower makes the least dead to Embercleave. Now, I don't know if we just can't win against Embercleave, maybe that's not on the table. Like, I'm not sure.
I mean, that's definitely a consideration. Are we dead to it no matter what? And maybe not. I mean, things don't look great, but if the Keeper gets bounced here and there's no attack.
Okay, is this going to work?
Yeah, this is. So Shane will escape this turn, still with all his life total.
Yeah, I was worried about a second 1/1 or something, and this is just...
That would have been devastating, yeah.
Yeah. But instead, post-combat edge wall. I wonder if Adam has any gas left. Oh, interesting. Oh, he must have a land. Okay. I was like, wait, why would he not play that? But yeah.
Yeah. So that turned out to be a pretty decent turn for Adam, given the fact that he didn't get to attack.
I'm presenting lethal again.
Yeah.
We're back in the lose to Embercleave state.
Okay, there's the land.
Are you team Embercleave or like dreading the Embercleave?
I mean, Embercleave is a pretty fun card to play with, but I'm not.
Sorry, Shane just scribed that land to the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that, and yeah, he may be thinking here that just
he needs the extinction event.
Yeah, he needs an extinction event.
Interesting. Oh well, got the land back. Got to go into main phase, unfortunately. Arena's a little finicky like that. So we're kind of back in a similar spot. Do we play on our main phase? Do we not? But
yeah, so let's see. I mean, we can try and trade the shark for the Bone Crusher Giant, but this is getting a little tough with another Lovestruck and the Keeper. Well, and Shane packs it in. Okay, so game 1 of the day goes to Adam Wasburn-Moses.
Wait, that's surprising to me. That didn't really change the situation on the board.
As far as the outcome that turn, you're right. It just meant that Adam was going to be drawing several more cards in.
I guess. Everything was still odd, except for the human, except for the princess. Anyway, whatever. On to the sideboard. Here we
All
are.
right, so we see the Ugin move into the deck and
Oh.
the Shadows Verdict, both singleton sweepers out of the board. A lot of the sideboard does not look like it's directed towards this matchup, though.
Right, and that's sort of interesting because either that means like they weren't expecting it, which seems unlikely, or the main deck was already sort of geared towards Gruul, which would make more sense, right? Like generally a control deck is ready for the creature matchups in their deck, and then they kind of have to adjust to the less creature matchups in their sideboard, right? I think I had that assessment correct.
No, I think you're right. One thing that I continually find interesting and difficult about the standard format are the decks that are playing the modal cards where the spell isn't actually all that great in sideboard games, but can you afford to take it out when it's kind of built into your mana base?
Yep, I have this problem every time.
Yeah, if we have a chance, can we look at Adam's sideboard before game 2 starts? Here we go. We have a look, and just briefly glancing at this, this looks like he's got some toys to bring in for sideboard games against control deck.
Yeah, I assume the Clothes is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the Phoenixes. It's hard to tell because his graveyard, Adam's graveyard, is not getting filled up a lot, but it's still a pretty good resilient threat, so I'm not sure. But yeah, well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Would you bring it in?
It depends on what he really wants to take out. I don't feel like I would really necessarily need it, but I do think the bringing the second Oxen is also worthy of consideration. It's expensive, and there are already a fair number of expensive cards in the deck, but
yeah, I was worried because the sweepers are this is open deck list, so the sweepers are all exile effects, so I'm not sure how big our graveyard ever would get.
Right, I agree with you. But I feel like we could conceivably get to a point where it just gets hard cast at reasonable value later in the game.
Sure.
Okay. Well, this hand looks like it's
no removal.
Okay,
I just realized.
Yeah, right, I was gonna say we're gonna develop okay and probably hold anything further off the board, but in the meantime, Adam's gonna be getting in for some big damage for a couple.
No fetch land though, so that's a little bit. That's good.
Yeah.
Less damage from that brush fire.
Although if there's there's a good chance the fetch land won't wait until the next turn anyway. Oh, especially now.
Especially now. Yeah, I don't think Shane can let this stick around. Like I think if Shane had a sweeper, there's something to consider, but they're odd and even. Like it just seems too tough.
How do you feel about not scrying there with the tome?
That felt like to me something you would do in a control matchup and not in the aggro matchup. I think you want that to get through your deck as quickly as possible and gain that 4 life.
That's kind of the way I lean also. But the rewind, certainly this rewind is very nice. I'm uncertain of how strong that card really is, but here with the potential to reuse all 4 mana, that's nice.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cards that kind of tricks people. Like it just seems so good on paper. Oh, here's a way to trick people though. Just not cast any spells. Oh, that's not great. Okay, well this Lockmere Serpent is getting close to being online, and it's pretty hard for the Gruul deck to deal with like 7/7.
So no plays from Gruul on turn 4. Would you have? Two mana went unused. Would you have been interested in bouncing the elemental at the end of the turn there?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Shane is winning by a lot in many ways. But then the thing is, are you going to counter it on the way back down? And I think you're not.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So I think I understand why.
Yeah. Okay. So we see here now the rewind's great because normally if you have you'd be afraid of tapping out against a 1-drop with 4 mana open, but that's not a concern here.
I'm concerned for Adam. Like Adam is clearly aware, counters are a thing that my opponent has. But unless like Adam's hand is just thick and he just can't cast anything. Sorry, unless Adam has a lot of things that he can't cast, you just kind of have to take action. I think like you can't sit back. They're always going to have those counter spells. That's sort of what I've learned against the control deck.
And especially with the Maze Mind Tome out there, if they can't always have rewinds, and at least you can burn their mana up, then they're not drawing cards and getting closer to. I
guess Adam's plan is clearly like trying to get this Innkeeper in once, just to get some like replacement value.
Yeah.
It's just not working out super well. Though I will say Shane is at 10, so it's not like Adam's been doing nothing for a bunch of turns. So that's not bad. But this Maze Vine Tome is gonna go up 4 life.
So second rewind gets used up. There are no counters left over. Scavenging Ooze, okay, that's reasonable.
It is.
It's not great, but it's fine. It certainly has room to grow.
Speaking of growing, so does the Scavenging Ooze. Unless that's what you were talking about. But
I don't know what I said, but which would be interesting to watch when I review the event next week. But that's what I was talking about. So I don't know what I said, but
no, you said room to grow, but I wasn't sure if you were talking about the Maze Mine Dome. I'm not sure. I was thinking about whether or not we're gonna bounce this Scavenging Ooze with Brazen Bars. So my bad.
No, we're good. Okay, so now we have.
It's morning.
A couple options here. These ooze did grow one spot already, so the borrower is actually resetting something of value. All right, just chooses not to use it.
Yeah, I think this is the part of the game where, like, I would play, like, I'm not a control player, so I just want to play all my spells. So I was like, oh, I'll just bounce this. Maybe I'll flash it in, start attacking. Like, it just doesn't jive with what Shane is clearly trying to do and is well aware of what they're trying to do. Whereas I'm over here being like, oh, let's attack with a 3/1.
You probably have more insight than you think, because Shane is not a control player either.
Oh, okay.
So this is somewhat surprising to me.
Okay, I also was a little surprised, but I just feel like we have some solutions to this ooze already. I wonder if there's some forward thinking of saying like, well, I want to play my Lockmere Serpent eventually, so that even is off the table from there. Just
That's
potential.
true. That's a good point.
I kind of wanted to trap the ooze in combat though, because
right.
we'd have a pretty big shark.
I guess I don't know if there's enough creatures to outsize it. Well, that's a pretty nice draw.
Yeah, there might be actually.
I think Thassa's Intervention is a very, very well-designed card. It's not unfair by any means, but it does have two strong options in a later game, and can, even early on, can bail you out from somewhat tricky situations by just being a draw 2 or a counter on turn 3. I like the card a lot.
I love flexibility in a card like this. I think it's really cool. Okay. Adam clearly had a plan, right? Like it's obviously the Edgewall Innkeeper was likely the draw for turn, because it seemed pretty clear to me that Adam had an adventure creature in their hand the whole time. Like this is the third Innkeeper they've played. They were trying to get value off it, unless they were just bluffing, which is also possible. But I mean, they are trying to do their plan, right? They want their value, and Shane is kind of saying like, well, if you have a plan, I'm going to stop it.
Right. And this if Adam had a couple more cards in hand, Shane may not be willing to make that play out of fear of what could come down. But with Adam being empty-handed, it seems pretty strong. As now, the Lockmere can blow up the Lovestruck Beast, barring an Embercleave, which would be an excellent draw right now.
I totally forgot. I was like, oh, anyway, yeah. I wonder. Okay. My question was originally going to be, I wonder if we were bouncing the 1/1 in pre-combat, but I forgot that the Lockmere has flash, so never mind.
Well, there's a lot of options here. I mean, there's bounce the token. There's the Questing Beast makes that less likely, although it's still possible. There's a Shark Typhoon that I think could come down for 5.
Yeah. So we couldn't do any sort of combination, like Brazen Bar plus like a good shark, unfortunately. So it looks like we're just going to go to the Loch Ness Monster instead.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty strong. This blows up the Lovestruck Beast, and then if the land isn't drawn, then the Borrower or the Shark Typhoon can deal with the Questing Beast next turn. And now, I mean, Adam's at 21. Lockmere is gigantic. Whoa, that's pretty good.
That's really good. Because now Shane can go Ashiok plus Brazen if something crazy happened. Like if an Embercleave does come off the top, then
he could.
They're super protected. Oh, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good
This
point.
is also strong. I mean, you're right. It could either one of these is pretty strong. Now you send it, you bounce and send in. Probably not. Do you just send in? I think I'm not sitting back if it's me. Okay.
Yeah, I like to attack, so.
Yeah.
Can we pull Lockmere Serpent up one more time?
Sure.
It's got 50 words on the card.
It does have a lot of text.
So it has literally 50 words. There's a very specific number on the card. I just can't remember what it is. Okay, so can't block, sack a swamp, draw a card. Okay, thank you. Needed some reminding.
Sack swamp and gain a life too, which could matter at some
Yes.
point. Unlikely to see it right now.
We actually only have one swamp, which is kind of funny.
Okay.
Play.
Do you cycle Shark here for 0 to try and hit your 8th land for Ugin?
No. I think you're well set up for many things. I don't think you're not desperate. Because all of your draws are just good, right? Like
I mean that's true.
Exactly a counter spell might be bad depending on what happens, but I think you're good to go.
Yeah, this game looks pretty in the bag. The Serpent is coming in again, and since it can be unblockable if it wants to, then this is the last turn for Adam.
Yeah, this is it.
And that's it. Okay, so we're going to game 3. Fairly entertaining games so far, I would say, with Blue-Black escaping the early game this time without drawing an abundance of removal spells.
Yeah, that was actually quite interesting because Shane's opening hand had like a neutralize, a rewind, another rewind was drawn. I think there was an extinction event that got literally a creature. It was I think the issue for Adam was Adam tried to do this plan where like I need to fill up on cards.
Mm-hmm.
And their hand sounded like it was probably a couple 1/1s and some adventure creatures, which is not it's not the beef that you kind of want in this matchup.
Sure.
And he just got stuck in these rewind kind of turns, and those are kind of brutal for Adam for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was maybe on turn 5 where Adam only used 1 mana, and that I think set it back a little bit. And we talked about it earlier. Jawari Disruption did get boarded out.
Yeah.
Which I think is totally fine, but you have to be confident in your mana base functioning with or without those cards to really know what you're doing here.
Yeah, and I'm not confident that I'm confident in my mana base. Because often I get lists from someone else, right? Or like from the internet, and I'm just like, oh, I'll decide out these Shatter Skulls. I'm like, wait, they're probably counting towards our mana. Darn it. It's something we have to think about now. Also, mulligan decisions are tougher because I just don't see lands, and I'm just like, oh, must mulligan. And then I was like, wait, 3 of these cards were lands. Oh, no. Come back.
I don't know if that means the mulligan decisions are tougher or if it means that you're incompetent at reading your hand, but whatever.
Yeah, it's probably the second part, but it's more the speed of which, I don't know, the ladder grind is kind of rough. So sometimes you gotta pick up some speed, and having some where's my lands? It takes time, okay? Gotta get up that rank.
So Adam's on a mulligan this game, and Shane has what may be the most important card for him to have early game, which is the Mazemind Tome.
Oh, I thought it was lands, but yeah, that makes sense.
Well, okay, you're right. Those are important too, and maybe more important. But the first Mazemind Tome, it's funny. The first Mazemind Tome, I think, is very good. The second one is pretty crappy, I would say.
Yeah. Shane's hand's actually kind of insane. I was just thinking about it. It was a 2-lander with a removal spell, a tome, a counter, and a good finisher, like an Ashiok. And then Shane just drew the 3rd land. And I think they're pretty set for a while. What do you think Shane is deciding? Obviously, Tome versus holding up Heartless Act. Where do you fall?
I would 100% play the Tome because you're not going to play it next turn because you're going to have the Neutralize up.
Right.
And then later on you have the intervention. Yeah, I think if it's going to be on the board before turn 6, it has to come down now. So I definitely like playing it.
And I assume you want to scry?
I do, especially since we have another one. I want to just try and hit our land drops, and I think we have the cards too. Okay, that's interesting.
I don't think we can keep this.
I am in agreement that we don't really need this, and so is Shane.
So Shane's doing something that's worth highlighting. If you're, because a lot of these tournaments we've been watching are on Modo, and this is kind of, I'm not sure our only one, but I know that one of our more recent arena tournaments. And you don't really get a choice on your upkeep stops unless you're on your opponent's turn. So what Shane's doing is like putting an upkeep stop as like a just in case. Like just in case I want to do it, I have to put it there. Whereas in Paper Magic or even in Modo, you can always have that stop. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that on Arena. So if you plan on playing a deck where you want an upkeep stop, be aware that you have to do it early, not late. Oh, I just realized while I was talking all about that, we didn't hold up Neutralize this turn.
We did not. We held up Heartless Act instead, so that we can get to potentially 4 mana next turn. Okay, real quick, Heartless Act, what are we doing with it here?
I'm just killing the Lovestruck Beast. I think it's too cute to kill the 1/1.
Mm-hmm.
We just get so punished next turn if Adam just has another 1/1.
Right.
So that's how I feel.
All right, so 4 damage comes in. We're probably scrying. And then, another creature. Okay, now Shane is going to need some...
Extinction Event. Where are you at, Extinction Event?
It's tough. Yeah, the Hogger Mauling is the whole turn.
Whole turn and not a land.
But if we dump it, we can't impact the board at all.
Does sound worse.
Well, this is tricky. Hogger Mauling is a very strange card in that it's has this cost reduction mechanic that just doesn't happen.
It just never happens.
Yeah.
It's such a trick because it always happens in the early game. Because people play their like non-basics early. And then it looks cheaper in your hand, and then by the time you can actually cast it, it's tricked you. So Shane's playing a game of chicken here, which I'm very bad at, in Paper especially. I'd be like, no effects. So I guess, Adam has to decide, because if Adam just says, okay, Adam goes straight to damage there. But by activating Scavenging Ooze, now Shane can kind of reassess. Is 7 damage too much damage? Can you play chicken one more time?
This is tricky. I mean, so if Shane absorbs the 7, okay, which he chooses to do, so then we have Thassa's Intervention up, as well as the Mauling and the Bronzodon. Okay.
This is getting a little dicey for Shane.
Yeah,
Bronzodon's an odd.
Go
ahead.
No, I was just saying, I would scry first before deciding what to do.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I like that. Because you're going to scry anyway.
Right.
Oh.
Drawing. Okay. Now, okay, yeah, I was going to say, if we're drawing, then maybe we're cycling also. Okay.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Okay. This did not turn out crazy.
That worked out really well.
Really well. We get 2 removal spells out of this that we can both cast. We get to save our tome. By save, I mean we get to use it. Should the Bronzodon take it on the way out, it doesn't matter.
Right.
However, we are still extremely close to dead with a fetch land. I guess we can wait and see.
But we have... Okay, that's...
Well, now are we dead?
I mean, 1, 3, 4...
Well, now we're dead to fetch land for sure, but...
Right. No, we're not, because the Maze Mind is 4 life on the board. Yeah.
So 5... Yeah, we're... Okay. Well, this one has to get Mauling, right?
Well, it could get countered. That is probably what Shane's thinking about right now. But Adam's certainly applying a fair amount of pressure here. And, okay, we'll see. Shane looks like he's... Well, we'll just see what he decides to do. All right, it's going to be the counter.
I'm trying to decide what's the difference. Wait. Oh, X double 1. Okay, I was like, wait, they can pay 1. But yeah, I forgot it doubles it.
Okay, looks like no land.
No land is both good and bad. It's very confusing.
I would scry right now. Well, okay. Yeah, I would have, I think. I suppose you don't have to because you can gain the life later, but I don't know why we wouldn't just knock it out right now.
I wanted to scry. I'm like so nervous being at 3.
Right. Me too.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess 3 is not 2 because we can't chill at 2 because then if we pass back and Adams has Bone Crusher, that's
Yeah. I feel like scrying there because drawing an like we drew a tap land. Drawing an untapped land would have been pretty significant.
Right.
So now what's the plan? I guess we could play the second tome and have the eliminate up.
Oh, that's interesting. So I was thinking about drawing a card. Ooh, well,
that's what he's gonna do. That's
That gains the 4 life, goes to 7. We still have eliminate to kill either of the main, like the big threats, like thrashing or elemental, and then we get to come back to our turn and use the mauling on whatever big thing is still in Adam's hand. That's sort of where it sounded like Shane was going. I assume you don't scry there if you want to draw a card out of it. That was kind of my assessment.
Right. Okay, so
well, that's the fetch land. That's a lot of damage. Some might say it's lethal damage.
Doesn't even have to break the fetch either.
Oh yeah, and the shark doesn't block the brush fire elemental. So you're sort of priced into killing that one.
Right. So
whoa. I don't think we're there yet. No, let's stay in this game, Shane. Come back.
Oh, you thought the game 1 concession was a little hasty. This one would have been extremely pessimistic.
I'm invested now. Don't leave us, Shane. Oh no. Okay. There was the Bone Crusher concern, so I'm glad that we did gain that life. Extinction event would have been very helpful. Oh, it wouldn't have actually been that helpful. That's funny. It would have been okay though.
It would have been actually extinction would have been kill the odds and then the shark can trade with the token when there's enough mana. I guess it wouldn't have been the land though, but yeah, this looks like
we're
the end of the road. Right?
Yeah.
What's that?
I think we're dead. I think Shane cannot come out of this, right? Because they have a removal spell and a blocker. But unfortunately there's 3 things to deal with and Shane is at 1 life.
Yeah.
Just too many combinations of things to deal with. Like no sweeper affects this game, right?
Yeah. Okay. Shark Typhoon Cycle. Extinction event would be good.
It would be good.
No.
Does Ashiok? It's the same thing. It still only deals with 2 out of the 3 things.
Yeah, well, at this point, we can't even play the Ashiok, right?
We already drew land.
Yeah, we already played land.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, well.
All right, so Adam Wasburn-Moses looks very likely to win the first round of the event. Shadow Skull Smashing, that finish it up. So congratulations to Adam for being up first round. Good way to start the day. Fairly entertaining games. I feel like there was, whether or not there were mistakes or not, we disagreed maybe a little bit on some of the scrying timings. But other than that, I think I enjoyed that match, the first one for the day.
Yeah, it was good. We got to see that blue-black deck in action. I know that it has been kind of, going through the Twitter and, people's conversations, but I hadn't seen it, so that was nice to see it.
Yeah, having seen the deck a couple times, I feel like what struck me, having watched it play a few times, is that the finishers aren't quite as strong. Like, I mean, the Serpent and the Ugin, they're good cards, but as opposed to, say, other generations of control decks, we're not looking at, like, Torrential Gearhulk type.
Aetherling or Aether.
Sure, Aether. Yeah, I mean, anything. Yeah. Like, there's been, I feel like the late game finisher cards have been stronger in the past than they are now.
Which is strange, because we're kind of in the strongest we've ever been for Standard, so.
So let's go ahead and look at the details of our next event. It's interested in following along. We have our season showdown, which is on December 20th, so a few days before Christmas. It's a I'm not gonna say 2.5K. It's $25 cash prizes. It is a full PTQ, or well, I guess if you're old school and use that terminology still, the winner does get an invite to the Kaldheim Set Championship. The entire top 8, similar to today, gets invited to the Kaldheim Qualifier weekend. And we are running our first online split format event, which we're definitely looking forward to.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, the card hoarder is, as usual, partnering up with us. So if you don't have a deck and you don't have a normal contract to the rental service, card hoarder has a $10 weekend rate, and there is going to be time between formats so that you can, if you are taking advantage of that, you can get your legacy deck, play your 4 rounds, exchange for a modern deck, and then play the rest of the tournament. So we tried to set this up to be as easy to manage as possible if you're not a consistent online player, and we're looking forward to hosting this event. So hopefully you decide to check it out or play with us.
Yeah. One of the things I loved about this series that we've been kind of following along this whole time was we've been watching 4 or 5 different smaller events like this, and they don't, like, the final event, the showcase that you just showed us, it's not only people that have played in these events that get to qualify for it. It's an open event, which is pretty cool, because sometimes you just don't have time to just play in every single thing to try and qualify for every single thing. Sometimes we're busy. So I'm pretty excited that you just get to play in the showcase.
Yeah. Finishing up on what Carolyn's talking about there. Yeah. So the winners of the trials get free entry and a round 1 bye. So there will be, assuming everyone plays, there will be 5 or assuming someone doesn't win 2 trials, which hasn't happened yet, but who knows? We'll see what happens today. So there'll be 5 people with 1 bye, and then with free entry, and anyone else can just enter the event and play along. So I don't know that we have a backup match for round 1.
It does.
Okay, so there's just 2 matches left playing, so we're probably going to step away here for a break, and we'll be right back in 3 to 5 minutes or so, and we'll be ready to bring you round 2. So thanks for joining us on this Thanksgiving weekend. I'm here with Carolyn Kavanagh. My name's Joe Lossett, and we'll be right back.